Good morning. Here it is, the humongous bumper Education World India School Ranking issue 22-23.
Yes. So, this unprecedented issue rates and ranks over 3,500 of India's top schools across several categories.
It's the world's largest school ranking survey.
Yes.
I think we need to say that.
Yes.
And it's this particular issue is of 342 pages and ranks more like 4,000 of India's most admired schools countrywide.
Yes.
It's an exercise that has been initiated 4 months ago and required field personnel of our partners, the Delhi-based Center for Forecasting Private Limited, aka C4,
Yes.
to interview 14,000 educationists, parents,
senior school students,
teachers,
principals across the country.
They were asked to rate and rank schools that they're familiar with on 14 parameters of school education excellence.
Yes, including competence of faculty, teacher welfare and development, leadership and management, co-curricular education, sports education, mental and emotional well-being services, etc.
And community service.
Yes.
So, field personnel of C4 persuaded all these people to award scores of 1 to 100 on all these parameters based on their knowledge of these institutions.
Yes.
The scores were then totaled and schools were ranked according to totals in various categories.
Yes. So should we quickly tell our readers, of course, the Education World India School Rankings is the main highlight of our September issue, but we also have some interesting features and editorial content apart from the rankings. Dilip, should we quickly tell them what we've got in store for them in our editorial section this time?
Yeah. In the editorial, we talked about the Bilkis Banu case, justice not seen to be done,
yes,
and then also about the Prime Minister's Republic Day address,
yes,
Independence Day address.
Yes, and his Panch Pran and how India should go about achieving them.
Yes.
Yeah. And of course, we have our education news section where we have
very interesting.
Yes, news reports from Delhi, West Bengal, Karnataka, and Maharashtra, covering a wide range of important education happenings in these states.
Yeah. It's very important perhaps to stress that our education news are unique countrywide, in as much that they not only report the news, but they give some analysis and insights from well-known educationists.
Yes.
In particular, we've talked about that education news from West Bengal, where a college lecturer with 2 PhDs from abroad, a college professor, the 2 colleges,
St. Xavier's University,
was sacked because a picture taken of her in a bathing suit prior to joining the university
was posted on Instagram and created Instagram.
It's quite astonishing how little value is put on talent, even in the highest, in the best universities in the country.
Yes, yes.
So we recommend that you read that story, and also about the corruption charges flying about in Karnataka.
Yes.
From where we are published. It's quite shocking.
And we also have a very interesting and insightful expert comment written by Dr. Sudhindra Kulkarni, who again is talking about the outrageous perversion of justice in the Bilkis Banu case.
Banu case, yes.
Yeah. And of course, coming to our cover story, Education World India School Rankings, we've earlier told you about the methodology. Just to re-emphasize that schools co-ed this September issue, actually because of the size of the rankings are now split and published over 2 issues. So the September issue has the part 1. In part 1 we've ranked all the day schools. And within day schools, so these include co-ed day, day-come boarding, girls day and boys day. And interestingly, this year, based on editorial and public feedback, we've created a new category of vintage legacy schools. Schools with over 90 years of vintage have been ranked separately within these categories.
The idea, we the idea was born out of the complaints we received that perhaps ranking very new school, 21st century school with schools with a 150-year-old legacy perhaps gave an advantage to the latter.
And in vintage legacy schools, what we've also done is we've added a separate and distinct parameter called the quality of alumni parameter, which is actually, the pride
Indicative, yes.
and indicative of, vintage legacy schools. So these rankings, like Dilip says, are divided into city tables, state tables, and national rankings. Particularly, especially with day schools, Dilip, we must tell our audience
Yes.
why city rankings take precedence over national rankings.
Yeah, when you think about it, it's quite obvious because for people living in particular cities, the national rankings don't mean very much.
Yeah, they confer at best bragging rights.
Bragging rights, indeed.
Yeah.
But this is like a humongous exercise.
Yes.
It's globally unprecedented.
Yes.
And we must compliment our partners, C4, and also our staff
Yes.
who worked like
Our
day and
editorial
night
marketing staff who
Yes.
work day and night to put this
issue together, which you won't find anywhere else in the
Yes.
world.
And I must, emphasize here that an unprecedented coverage this year of the ranking is that we've ranked schools in 392 cities countrywide.
Yes, and
That's-
if you look at the national table, of co-ed day schools, it extends to over 100 pages.
Yes.
It's like, and it's a gold mine for all schools, in as much as it tells every school management what are its scores under a particular parameter.
Yes. And for parents, there's such valuable information because parents can, make optimal choices for their children based on their aptitudes. Because we rank
of their children.
Yes, we rank schools across 14 parameters of school education excellence.
Yes. So typically, a child who's very good in sports, the parent could choose a school which is a day school or a boarding school or a co-ed
Yes.
school, which is very good in highly ranked in under the sports parameter.
Yes, and can also make intercity comparison. We have a separate parameters of excellence rankings where India's top 10 schools, as per
In
their
each category.
ranking, in according to the parameters, have been ranked separately. So, like Dilip said, this is a goldmine of information for schools as well as for parents. Our objective with the Education World India School Ranking has always been to provide parents, information about schools so they can make informed choices, and to institutional managements to continuously improve and upgrade their educational offerings.
Under each parameter.
Yes.
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 So, well, we have nothing much else to say, but except that
Except
highest compliments to our partners C4 and our editorial staff.
and marketing staff who
Yes.
put together an excellent issue, and this is not the end of it. Like they say, there's a part 2 coming.
Yes. In which we rank.
Yes, in the October issue, we'll be publishing India's top ranked boarding schools, international school, government schools, philanthropy schools, and special needs schools.
Yes.
And we must also say that on October 11th and 13th, the Education World India School Rankings Awards are scheduled to be held in Gurgaon, and we are looking forward to welcoming India's top ranked schools to India's largest gathering of K-12
Yes, when
education
all the top
leaders.
ranked schools will be awarded and certified.
Yes.
Yes, so this is, again, I reiterate, sounds a bit boastful, I reiterate, this is really an unprecedented exercise globally.
Yes.
And we highly recommend that those of you who don't get the magazine, at least go to our website and scour the tables, because it's, as we say, it's a goldmine of information.
Yes.
And very useful information.
And Dilip, before we go, should we tell them what we've got in Parents World? This time in Parents World, we've done, I think, a very timely, important story on how parents can help nurture kind and compassionate children.
Indeed.
I think it's the need of the hour that parents nurture children who are kind, compassionate, empathetic.
Starting at home.
Yes, not just to their peers, but also to those people who are
who are strangers.
beneath them in the social hierarchy,
indeed.
as well as strangers. We need to build a kinder, more compassionate world.
Indeed, there are a lot of, I regret to say, a lot of spoiled brats in the upper middle class and middle class communities who have very little empathy and compassion for people who are not as well placed as they are in society. So I think this is an important issue, and ParentsWorld complements EducationWorld, because
Yes.
ParentsWorld tells parents how to begin the process of education at home, which is then supplemented by excellent school education,
Correct.
ultimately resulting in good citizens, kind, caring, and who have fellowship with their other citizens.
Absolutely.
So we recommend both EducationWorld and ParentsWorld.
Thank you.